Hello, I'm John with Roadkill Incorporated, and today I'm going to demonstrate screen replacement for an iBook laptop. Screen replacement for iBooks is pretty much the same, whether you have a 12-inch or a 14-inch or a G3 or a G4. It's pretty much the same procedure for all of these laptops. This is a 12-inch G4, but like I said, any of these, it's pretty much the same. So anyway, first thing we need to do, if you notice on the case, there is a screw hole there and a screw hole there. Two on the other side as well. These are Torx T7 screws, I believe. And like I mentioned repeatedly in these tutorials, get yourself, do yourself a favor, get yourself a good, $20 screwdriver kit that has multiple screwdriver heads. It'll serve you well, and you won't find yourself stuck in the middle of a procedure. So anyway, you remove these four, and if you open the case a little bit, I basically just grab from the corner, as you can see, and just with the tips of your fingers, grab the very edge and pull, and you can remove the screen casing just like that. It's that easy. Next, you've got the shielding, which you need to remove, the metal shielding. This is very easy to remove as well. There are four screw holes, and as you've noticed, I've removed all the screws in advance. I don't want to bore you with, spending 5 minutes removing the screws. There are four screws holding the shielding on as well. There's one there. I don't know how focus is going to appear, unfortunately. There's a screw right there, little indentation in the plastic. And there is one here as well. Don't be confused by these screws. These are not related. Especially on a G3, this is a G4, but especially on a G3 there are additional screws all along here. It's important to not remove those, because those have nothing to do with the shielding. So you've got the one here and the one here, and then the two similar screws on the other side. So to remove the shielding, you pretty much just need to kind of push the screen. As you can see my hand here, you can just push the screen out a little bit, and the shielding will come off of the screen like that. This has been removed before, obviously, so the tape is not connected. You might need to remove some of the tape before you can get this to come off as freely as I'm demonstrating here. So anyway, there's the shielding. This piece of sort of aluminum-ish tape connects to the video plug, so you might face some resistance when you pull this off. Just kind of feel underneath it a little bit and just kind of work it off. So anyway, now you have the bare screen, and you'll notice that there's a piece of tape here. You'll want to remove this guy. There's a piece of tape here, and there's generally a piece of tape here. This is a piece that I put on, but there'll generally be a piece of tape here. It's very important to, when you put the replacement screen on, to replace this piece of tape, because the motion of opening, closing often causes the plug to become unplugged a little bit. So it's very important to put this piece of tape on, and also put this piece of tape on here, just to keep that from happening. In addition, sometimes amateurs will put a piece of tape right here, and then they'll wonder why there's a sort of a black spot in the Apple when they close their laptop. That's because obviously the tape is in the way, so you want to kind of guard against that. So anyway, we'll remove this piece of tape. You can now remove the video plug. The other connector is the inverter, which is right here. This is the inverter cable. The inverter supplies light to the screen. If you ever have a dark display with no light, just a faint image of a display but with no light, that means the inverter, the light from the inverter for some reason is not getting to the computer. So anyway, you remove the inverter. Then you can pretty much just pop the screen out, as you can see. So I'll pretend this is a brand new screen. You basically just kind of put it in place. Just sort of pop it in place there. Connect the inverter. Sort of push it in. Now we'll connect the video cable. Again, video cable is responsible for the image. The inverter is responsible for the light. So, kind of hard to show this with one hand, I apologize. You put that in place, make sure it's flush against the plug. Put the tape back in place. Push this tape back into place. And then over here, kind of push the inverter cable down and then put this tape over here. Part of the reason this tape is important, especially when you have an iBook G3 with sort of an opaque casing, is that it blocks out the light from the screen. Sometimes if you remove that tape, you'll power on the laptop and notice that there's sort of a brightness towards the bottom of the screen. That's because the light is escaping out the screen through this area. But if you tape that down, the light will kind of be blocked out, and that won't be an issue. So next, we need to put the shielding back on. Worthy of note is that the shielding is very fragile. You'll notice this one is nice and straight, but sometimes you'll get sort of a curve. You know, the little edge will be you know, pushed out in one area or another. Once the shielding is messed up, it's very hard to shape it back into place to the point where it will actually work in one of these machines. So, you know, be very careful with the shielding. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. Basically, you hold up the screen a little bit like that, put the casing, put the shielding over the screen, and then you can kind of work it in like this, sort of push away and push it in place so that it's flush like that, and then work your way around the casing like this. Make sure it's in place. As you can see here, it's not in yet, but if I push, oh, it came up in this corner. Like I said, once it's bent, it's very hard to get it in place. Okay, I actually did it with one hand. I'm impressed with myself. So there you go. It is flush all the way around. Like I said, once it's bent, it's very hard to get it straight again. So try not to bend it. Worthy of note here, remove that piece of tape. This is the little clasp that that locks into the base of the machine. Sometimes the little hook, as you can see here, let's see if I can demonstrate it. The little hook, magnetic hook, comes out. If you see that little L hook on the hook, sometimes the hook is broken off. If that happens, you can kind of smash down these little pieces of plastic and remove the whole contraption, and then replace it with one that is complete. So that's useful to do. If the L piece is intact, but it is not clasping to the base, that generally means that, I mean, you want to test it with a magnet, but if it's not, if it is coming out when you have a magnet and you move a magnet up to here, but it is not connecting with the base, generally that means the base is the problem and there's a piece in the base you need to replace. So anyway, just thought I'd throw that in there. Put the tape back here, and I'll put the top back on. Basically, you just kind of press it into place. Again, not the easiest thing to do with one hand, unfortunately. You want to make sure on the bottom here, it clicks into place right here and right here. And then on every side, you want to kind of work your way around the laptop like that. Make sure it's just you know, snapped into place all the way around. And then you can take your Torx T7 screws and put them back in, and then you're done. You have successfully replaced the screen. Really very easy to do. You know, on the surface it might appear intimidating, but once you've done a few, it's very simple. Thanks for watching, and talk to you soon. My website is rdklinc.com.